major glitches. Snowball, take it away.
Everyone, my name is Snowball, and this is going to be Sonic Mania, well, Amy Mania, New Game Plus, No Major Glitches. Pretty much, I will be utilizing a community-made Amy Rose mod that puts her into the game. Big shout-outs to the people who made it. And I will be playing through an already finished save file with all of the Chaos Emeralds ready to go, so Super Amy will be pretty much every stage once we get 50 rings. So I will give a quick countdown, and then we will be off. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Every good Sonic game starts with Green Hill Zone, or something like that. I thought I ran into that chomper to start the run. So Amy Rose has a few unique character tricks to in her arsenal. She's got the Heli Hammer, and she's got a sort of hammer flip, hammer jump thing. I love switching what I'm calling it like pretty much every single marathon. Going to use that a few times to run straight into a quarter pipe. Sometimes you just barely don't get enough distance to clear that gap all the way, but Super Amy doesn't look too different, but she does sparkle. So that's, and also like glow very faintly. So that's sort of how you can tell when I'm in the super form, because I did disable the super music because it gets a little bit repetitive with how much Super Amy there is in this run. Since all of the Chaos Emeralds are already collected on the save, every single stage except for I think one. As soon as I collect 50 rings, I will be transforming into Super State. Super Amy has the sort of usual super form tricks, the invincibility, increased movement speed, increased jump height, and a 1 ring drain every 1 second. Okay, there's a bit of floor there, cool. Comboing speed shoes and an invincibility monitor at the start of this stage into the 50 rings to activate Super State is super handy, because this stage can be a bit lengthy, but it's also just... Even though it's the second stage in the game, it is very, very difficult. Actually, one of the hardest stages to play optimally in the whole game. But, really cool thing about the Sonic Mania level design is it sort of... Usually for the returning zones, it'll combo stage design elements from Acts 1 and 2, or in the case of a Sonic 1 stage like Green Hill, Act 3 as well, into the first act. And then the second act is sort of like a new take on the zone, usually including a brand new mechanic to that stage. I don't know why I jumped there. Chemical Plant has probably my favorite Act 2 sort of gimmick mechanic out of, I think, the whole game. Also, it is perfectly fine that I crashed into some toxic bubbles there, because Big Ring right on the track. So Big Rings in Sonic Mania, much like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, usually take you to the special stages where you get the emeralds. However, since I already have all of the emeralds, whenever I pick up a big ring, I will instantly get 50 rings. Which means I can pretty much just, if there's a big ring right on the track, I can just activate Super State as soon as I hit a big ring. 3, 4. Alright, nice. I've been messing up the optimal 4 hits on the boss dropdown on the stage quite a bit recently, so I'm glad to get back into that rhythm. But even though we didn't really fight that boss, we do get a little bit of a teaser of the Act 2 gimmick, which is the flubber. There are 4 different kinds of flubber. There's the dark blue, which damages you, the light blue, which gives you a little bounce, the green flubber, which gives you a big bounce, and then there's also purple, which you just sort of stick to and ride around on, like this platform here. This is one of the stages that I've actually recently been doing a little bit of a routing change towards the end of the stage, because before I would actually ride a couple moving blocks to get to where a big ring is. But since I'm already in Super State by that time, that's actually a couple of seconds slower than a little bit longer of a route. I need to make sure that I don't get hit there. Good cycle on those bubbles, so that way I can jump off the ceiling earlier and activate Super just fine. Also, another part of the flubber gimmick is those syringes that change the color of the flubber depending on what is in the syringe. So in that case, it changed it to green, giving me a nice big bounce. Almost hit that at a bad second. Come on, Amy. There we go. And coming up here is going to be that bit of a routing change. There is a big ring that is right up there off that staircase that I just crashed into. However, it is a little bit slower to go that way as opposed to this way. Plus, this way looks a whole lot cooler because it's not just sitting there waiting around for pretty much nothing. But now we are going to take a Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine Puyo break. I suck at this boss fight, so we might be here for a little bit. So, Helix, if you got any any messages, now's a great time.
Dr. Mario and Puyo, how fitting. I would like to share that we have just opened a particularly exciting incentive for the Donkey Kong 64 randomizer coming up later tonight. That incentive is $400 to play the DK rap. I know you all love the DK rap. It is very fitting at VGMCon as well. Maybe you all in the crowd can even sing along with it. You know, we'll see what happens. But we need to raise $400 before the end of that run. So y'all have, you know, a few hours to get on that. But, you know, don't delay. Get your donations in right now to support P-Fund. Like Codebreaker just did, $25, and says, "Let's go, Snowball." OBS just got scared of Amy's hammer. Thank you very much for your generosity. And as a reminder, we are supporting P-Fund Foundation, specifically their Transcend campaign. The 2025 Transcend campaign is an immediate response to urgent needs facing trans plus people living in or coming to the upper Midwest 5-state region of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, North, and South Dakota. By April 15th, we aim to have $30,000 in donations that P-Fund can distribute via community review to trans plus serving organizations in the summer of 2025. That is $30,000 total from the whole P-Fund Transcend campaign.
That was maybe the worst RNG I've ever seen in that fight. Eggman filled up every single tile in his side of the screen except for one up in the top right corner. So that was rough, but now we're moving on into the first of 4 original zones to Sonic Mania. We've got Studiopolis. Let's not jump down there. That would not be good. Okay, that actually went much better than it normally does. This stage has, it's sort of the game's resident, there are bumpers everywhere stage, sort of like, think like Casino Night or Carnival Night from Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I will be jumping up there to grab that big ring since it is right next to the path, and also this fight is a little bit of an auto-scroller coming up. So it's nice to have as many rings as possible going into it. The fight is going to be against the first of the hard-boiled heavies, who are, I think they're supposed to be like fancy egg pawns or something like that. The Eggman built them, and they're causing trouble. So for this fight, we've got 4 sets of missiles that we have to launch back. We launch back the blue ones, and since we're in super form, we just crash into it to send it back. But the top missile will appear on the screen first. The middle missile will appear second, so on and so forth. So that is the whole 1, 2, 3 with this fight. It wouldn't be a run of this if Heavy Gunner did not give me at least 1 3, so although we did start with a 1. It wouldn't be a run of this if there wasn't the missile combo of 3 into a 1 that you can't actually launch back to get a hit. The amount of times that this happens when I run this game, genuinely uncanny. And of course, there's another 3. I hate this fight so much. But I think it might be a bit mutual. I don't think Heavy Gunner is very fond of me constantly blowing up his goons and his helicopter. But we've got 1 missile left. Hopefully it's not bad. Please. It's a 2. It's all right. Could have been a lot worse. That 1 at the start of the fight was definitely a saving grace. But now we are going to be moving on into the TV station for Act 2. I cannot believe that I was able to stop on time. With those signposts, if you crash into them with too much speed, then they'll spin around and fly up in the air, and then they have to land before the whole end-of-stage score thing will show up, so it's just time loss. If you don't stop, and I honestly can't believe that I was able to stop on time because Amy was schmovin'. But we are going to be carrying this lightning shield over from Act 1. Ooh. I realize I did not spin dash at the top of that ramp. That shouldn't be an issue. Okay, yeah, I need to restart the stage. Pretty much if you fall down on this stage, bad things happen. Because then, at that point, you're on the very much not the fast route. I am going to take a slight detour, though, since I don't have the ring magnet from the lightning shield, to grab that 10-ring monitor. And that should get me back on track to be able to activate Super State at roughly the same time that I normally do. But since I don't have that shield, I do have to play around those guys a little bit. Amy, could you please turn around? Thank you. Alright. I can't believe I forgot to spin dash. You know what they say. Always spin dash when you're speedrunning. It does make you go fast. And now I don't have to worry about anything except for that red spring that I don't know why I thought that was up. I know where that is. But elemental shields. Now that I'm back on track, I can remember what I was saying. So there are 3 different types of elemental shields. There's the lightning shield, the bubble shield, and the fire shield. If you're playing as Sonic, they give you some sort of fancy thing with your jump. Any other characters, it doesn't. But they all protect you from various elemental damage. The lightning shield protects you from lightning or electricity. The fire shield protects you from fire or lava. And the bubble shield prevents you from being able to drown, which is going to be very crucial in a little bit. Fun fact, actually, all 3 of the elemental shields do get used in this run. They do come quite in handy. The fire shield... Actually, I think it's on the next stage. Yeah, fight's over. So... Super State makes it so you don't really have to fight the bosses too much for most of them. And on top of that, Amy's like movement kit is that of a little boss destroyer, which is very, very handy. But now we are on to one of my favorite stages in all of 2D Sonic. We've got Flying Battery. I am going to be grabbing that little fire shield there just to sort of like streamline that section and one other section right up here. There's another one of those fire jets. But I will be switching to a lightning shield up ahead right before activating Super State, so that way I've got that ring magnet. Because this stage does have a little bit of length to it, and I do want to make sure that I have Super State for the boss, because this boss takes at least twice as long, but probably longer. If you don't have super, gonna play that safe. Because even though Super Amy does have invincibility, she can still get crushed. She can also still drown, so that's why the bubble shield a little bit later is going to come in handy. But shoutouts to the Sonic Mania dev team for just a nice little quality of life thing with that top route on Flying Battery Act 1. Because that area is also in Act 1 of Flying Battery in Sonic & Knuckles. And the holes that those missiles open up in the floor take 2 sets of missiles instead of 1 in the original Sonic & Knuckles, so it's just much nicer to play that stage in Mania, but I am going to skip that stage transition. Sometimes I don't because of elemental shields. However, there is a big ring that is right next to the path very, very early on in this stage that I will be taking a quick detour over here to grab, and then as long as I don't get crushed or fall in a hole, then we'll be fine. This stage is also sort of the first major instance of where a no major glitches run sort of takes a different path than a glitched run, because there is, fun fact, a way to skip the boss of this stage. It involves a whole lot of speed from Super Amy and her Helihammer ability, giving her quite a bit of freedom when it comes to... Okay, the claw didn't spawn on that first rail. I've never seen that. Aerial mobility is made drastically easier by the Helihammer, and it shows in the glitch to run. Right up here, there's that red spring, and that just sort of lets you run on the ceiling here. There's a specific point where if you jump off and Helihammer, then it will sort of screen wrap, even though it looks like we're going up an elevator here. The animal capsule at the end of the stage is actually below us. And it's also slightly below that last outside section. So if you have enough speed and Helihammer off of the ceiling, I think it's a very small frame window that you have, but you can actually sort of just fly all the way over to the animal capsule. It is a bit dangerous though, because if you got the timing ever so slightly wrong, then you'll soft lock yourself. You'll also soft lock yourself if you grab one of the hang gliders that plays, or that shows up in this cutscene that I'm going to skip, where Amy grabs onto it and flies to Press Garden. You don't want to grab those unless you are specifically running the hang glider % category extension. Shoutouts to everyone who runs that, because that is such just an awesome category extension to have. Oh, dang. I did not want to skip over that box. I wanted to land and then just sort of walk onto that bridge switch, because then it wouldn't have activated and I could have just hammer flipped up there, and it saves like 3 seconds. But another big ring right off the track, right near the start. I am going to grab that lightning shield just to have the magnet. Didn't quite get the smooth jump, but that is a-okay, because I'm probably going to be hitting a rough cycle. Never mind, I'm going to be hitting like a perfect cycle on those little light up letter blocks. Sometimes those blocks, the lights just shut off, and when that happens, you can't actually stand on them. So I'm so used to getting to that section of the stage at a bad point of the cycle and just having to stand there, twiddling my little Amy Rose thumbs for like a good 5 seconds before being allowed to play the video game again. But this, Amy, stop going over there. That's like three runs of the stage in a row. She's wanting to go left. You don't want to go left. You want to go right. Nice. That's one of the hardest tricks in the run, and I'm very glad that I was able to hit that. And now I will be going off the track slightly for that fire shield, because one other cool thing about fire shields in this game is they prevent you from getting frozen. And Act 2 of Press Garden is the game's resident ice stage, and there's lots of ways that you can get frozen in blocks of ice. And you don't want to do that until later in the stage. Fortunately, when you activate Super State, that attribute of the fire shield gets shut off. That way, you're not soft-locking yourself for like a minute plus and losing your Super State. I do need to make sure that I don't accidentally skip this cutscene like I did in one of my practice runs. Don't ask me why I did that, because then you skip moonwalking Amy, and who wants to skip that? So the first sort of half of the stage I am going to be just sort of like running carefully through, because there are lots and lots of spikes. And also these, I don't know what these guys are, but they're really obnoxious, and their hitbox is massive, and they're also everywhere. Fortunately, that shield does allow me to tank one hit, and I'm gonna just let Amy slide here. It'll be faster that way. The movement speed is very nice, and also now I can just pop Super State and don't have to stress about somehow accidentally getting clipped by that one enemy slithering through the sky. But now... that's unfortunate. Alright, time to take the backup route. So what I wanted to have happen there... Maybe, wait. Amy's sliding very slowly. At this point, it probably would have been about the same time to take the backup route. But this is better for content purposes. So we're gonna just let this happen. So why, for the ideal route, the reason why we need to be frozen in a block of ice is there is a wall of solid ice blocks that you can only break through if you crash into it while frozen. So if the freeze gets messed up, then you pretty much have to go off to the side, go down and then back up, and it's slow. Also, Heavy Shinobi was surprisingly kind. Usually he likes to just spam freezing blades and stuff, and that's not fun, but now we are going to the past. Sonic CD's very own Stardust Speedway. This is easily my worst stage in the entire run, so hopefully things don't go too badly. I'm usually getting hit somewhere that I don't want to get hit, or I'm just going on the wrong path at some point later on because of funny little red spring launchers that like to wiggle around. Also, these fireflies are a little bit of like a teaser for the boss fight, because there's gonna be a big one of those. I cannot believe I didn't get hit there. I actually don't know if I agree with the game. I don't want to get hit by the firefly there. Alright, fortunately there are rings right up here. So now, I'm going to just launch, activate Super State, and still manage to hit that yellow spring. That yellow spring thinks that it's my best friend, even though it's very much not. And now we have big firefly, big chunky firefly, and also a bunch of little fireflies. We don't like any of them, so we're gonna get rid of all of them. And then after this fight, we are going to be moving to the future, back to the present, because we are currently in the past, if I am remembering my Sonic CD lore properly. And I am very excited for the boss fight. I'm always very excited for the boss fight at the end of Stardust Speedway Act 2. One of my favorite villains in SnowballSMB franchise, and also just sort of a really, really cool fight that has an absolute banger OST to it. I don't want to... Big shock, I don't want to get hit, because then I lose all my rings and won't be able to super. But also, I don't actually want to activate Super State until I get to the boss fight, because this boss fight is 3 phases. And it's not exactly short. I am going to grab this little shield here for protection. And then we are going to just go... I don't know why holding right in this trench does that. I don't know why I decided to hold right, because I know that happens every single time I try it. But, are there any Metal Sonic enjoyers out there? Because we have 3 whole phases of Metal Sonic. If you ask me, this is the real rivalry that started all the way back in Sonic CD, is Amy and Metal Sonic. First phase is just a sort of nice little callback race. Then we've got launching Silver Sonics back at Metal Sonic when he's in like a little launcher thing. And then we've got a callback to Knuckles Chaotix, actually, with, I believe the form is called Metal Sonic Kai. None of these phases can do anything because Amy's gonna just stand here adorably. And Metal Sonic is not really programmed to be able to handle this. But, if there are any messages that need to be said, now is a really good time because Amy's literally just standing here being powerful.
Amy's very good at that. In the meantime, there is a $25 donation from Cheech who says, "This is a great cause. TT would be proud." And that is referencing our upcoming bonus game tonight, Diddy Kong Racing. And we are still working toward that $400 DK wrap goal. Remember, that has to be met by the end of the Donkey Kong 64 randomizer tonight. When you are donating, make sure after you put that amount in, you scroll down, go to incentives, and be sure to add your donation toward that DK wrap incentive, or if you wish, the golden banana color bid war, also for the Donkey Kong 64 randomizer. Exclamation point, donate in chat, and follow that link.
We gotta get the DK rap. The best song in a video game of all time. Don't at me.
You all in the audience will be allowed to join in during that DK rap, by the way.
But only if you know the words.
And only if we meet that incentive.
Alright, we have a zone with a name that people love to debate what it actually is. We got Hydro City, or Hydrocity, or Hydro Kitty, or Splishy Splashy Funtime Zone. There's a whole lot of water here. I think that's sort of probably where the name came from. But since there is water, we're gonna need to grab those bubble shields. I say plural because I might lose this one, like early on the Act 2 portion of the zone, but there is a backup bubble shield there. It's a whole lot more important on Act 1 because there's a lot more of the stage underwater that we play. Whereas with Act 2, it's pretty much just the boss and a couple, like, 2 to 3 second stretches of just running. I have never been thrown off that conveyor belt at that angle. It's actually really fast. But now, Eggman is going scuba diving, putting bombs in the water. I don't think that that's good for the local environment, so we're going to stop him by stealing his car. Fun fact about this fight, it's effectively a reverse of the Hydro City Act 2 fight from 3 and Knuckles. This time, we're the ones in the Eggmobile, creating, like, giant cyclones in the water, pulling Eggman up to get bonked by the propeller on the bottom of the car. Fortunately, this is only 4 hits, I feel like this fight would be really tedious if it was any longer, especially since we had sort of like the, in quotations, escape sequence. But now one more hit, and then just sort of drive on over to the right. And Act 2, I think, is probably the biggest example of, hey, if you fall down to the bottom route, do yourself a favor and restart the stage. Top route is so much faster than the alternatives on this stage. It is not even funny. I am going to take this a little bit safe so that way I don't fall down to the bottom. You can sort of jump early out of that loop and then do a hammer flip all the way up and skip a cycle of those sort of like drums that are going up and down, but it's really tight timing, and that's what I think of that guy for making me mess up that jump. Anyway, this stage has 2 sections that are sort of big sort of figure eights. We've got, what is it, top left to bottom right to top right to bottom left. I know the stage, I promise. Of course, because this is a speed run, we are going to be doing none of that. Well, we're going to be doing the whole top right to bottom left thing because that's how you advance in the stage, but that's top left to top right. Amy can just do that in Super State because of the Heli Hammer. It might be possible outside of Super State. If it is incredibly tight, though, because the increased speed from being super adds just an absurd amount of distance. But I don't exactly know fully how these ramps work, but I think they have, like, they're one-sided or something like that, so if you're going fast enough, you can just sort of jump through them, and it's a very handy quirk of the way the stage is built. I did do that once in Act 1 as well, just to save a little bit of time. Also, I feel like a lot of the boss fights in 2D Sonics, you can sort of ask the, not really ask the question, but sort of say the statement of, I don't exactly know what Eggman thought was going to happen. This fight, more than most in my opinion. Now we have the Act 1 fight from 3 and Knuckles. That's the fight. Also, fun little thing. Not really that fun, because it's slow. But for some reason, you can't actually skip this end of stage cutscene. So as soon as I break the capsule, I sort of jump on an invisible piece of collision on the quarter pipe on the right side of the room, because that gives me enough momentum from the water jet to push me pretty much all the way to the door, and we have to watch Amy walk out the door. So it wouldn't be a 2D Sonic game if we didn't have our plain auto-scroller level. Sonic is flying the plane, because Sonic is Amy's personal driver or something like that. This is not the only instance in this run of Sonic driving a vehicle. There's one instance after the final boss where Sonic has to bring the car around before everything explodes and get them both out of there. But, well, we're just flying through the desert, just vibing, I guess. Helix, if you got any more messages, perfect time.
Sonic took lessons from Tails. It's fine. It's fine. I mentioned a bit earlier, but we are at VGM Con Dimensional Riff in Plymouth, Minnesota. VGM Con is an annual celebration that combines music performance with tournaments, indie games, panels, workshops, energy drinks, and a whole lot of fun. Its purpose is to create a community of engaged creators and fans around video games through unique experiences that you can't find at home. The Midwest Speedfest team is grateful to once again be part of VGM Con and would like to thank them for providing resources and support to help us host our marathons. Obviously, you know, we wouldn't be having in-person events if not for them. Be sure to keep those donations coming in to P-Fund, and especially as we work toward that DK Wrap incentive for the DK64 randomizer. I also want to give a quick shout out to Japanese Restream for once again restreaming a Midwest Speedfest event. We have worked with them several times now, and we are very grateful for all the work they do to bring marathons like ours to a larger audience.
I cannot believe that this game was totally foreshadowing the hit game of... I'm a fake Sonic fan, I don't remember which year it was that it came out, but Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. A great little visual novel game. Eggman's driving a train on this stage, can you believe it? He totally invented every single train in the Sonic universe, but this is one of the only stages where I don't ever activate Super State, because I found out the hard way. There are instances where Sonic cannot fly his plane as quickly as he can run. And it turns out, wow, my spacing this fight's rough. It turns out that the plane cannot always keep up with the speed and slidiness that Super Amy possesses. This means that it is possible to actually fall off the plane if you are in Super State, and that happened to me once, and I decided never again. So now we've got an actual level for Mirage Saloon, and this is probably the biggest instance of route doesn't entirely matter here. The start of the route does, definitely, so that way I can activate Super State nice and early, but after this sort of like first midpoint right here, it really doesn't matter. And the way that I know this is I never really bothered to fully learn the route of this stage, because every route pretty much at this point onward, I get like the exact same time into the boss arena. Unless I get stuck on this section too much like that and hit too many of those glass little orbs. We've got the third hard-boiled Heavy Magician, with a nice little callback to 3 classic Sonic characters. We've got Fang, we've got Bean, and we've got Bark. Anytime you get 2 hits on Heavy Magician in a row, like on one sort of cycle, she will go back into the box. After 2 transformations into one of the characters, she will go back into the box. So for Fang and Bean, I want to get a sort of 1 hit into 2 hits, and then for Bark, just get the final 2 hits. And now we are going on to one of the biggest nostalgia zones for me. We're going to Oil Ocean. Also one of my favorite zones from Sonic 2. That might be controversial, but a little baby Snowball has lots of fond memories of this stage, so that's my reasoning. Another sort of instance of very early on, we are going to be going slightly off the track to grab a big ring. Go down here, set everything on fire, because that's another fun thing that fire shields can do. And then there's a big ring just sort of chilling down there. Amy, please get up. Thank you. Alright, now we are going to the top route as soon as I get done bashing my head on a ceiling. So I don't exactly know what's gone wrong in Oil Ocean, but some things have gone wrong, and we need to go beat up Bob the Builder because of it. He's sort of at the end of this stage, just standing there. I don't know why he's doing that instead of fixing whatever is going on here. But cool little hammer flip right up into the boss arena. Another one of those fights that I genuinely don't remember what the fight actually is, because I actually don't know if I've ever fought this boss out of Super State, because of because of that big ring. And also Act 1 of Oil Ocean being one of the shortest stages in the entire game. Now we've got a little bit of a sneak peek at Act 2's little gimmick. I really like this stage because this sort of... The gimmick makes it feel like it's a bit of a sort of mashup of both Oil Ocean and Sandopolis Act 2 from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and that is maybe my favorite stage in all of 2D Sonic. So anytime a stage makes me feel like I'm back inside that wacky little pyramid, I am happy about it. I forgot to do the little running on the ceiling. That's actually probably faster because I get to that lever faster. So those levers hanging from the ceiling clear out the smog. After the smog's on for, I used to know the exact time, but I don't remember, a little bit. Then your ring count will start draining 1 ring per second like you are in Super State, just without every benefit that Super State brings. Once you get into Super State, it really doesn't matter. This is another pretty short stage, but right up here is probably, for some reason, I just find that to be one of the most satisfying heli hammers in the entire run. Because spin dashing off of the elevator at that point and then heli hammering allows me to fly right over some thing on top of that submarine. I can't remember if it's like one of the hatches to go into the submarine. Fun fact, you can go into the submarines on this stage, and there's like full-on little bits of stage in the submarines. We don't want to do that though because it's an entire waste of time. Eggman needs to get some fancier submarines. Like some submarines that can just teleport you past the boss or something like that. Or this submarine that takes you straight to Lava Reef. I don't understand the specifics of how that works because we're like in a volcano right now. It's interesting.
It's a pretty advanced submarine.
Yeah, I suppose so. Also, this stage has the sort of like one instance of full-on going off the route to pick up a bunch of rings, because right up here, there's a whole lot of rings. And going off the track there for those rings and then activating Super State saves enough time that it is more than worth it. Because also this stage would probably be very damage boost heavy if it wasn't for that. And either that or you'd have to play really slow and really carefully, and that's not fast. We're here to speedrun. Also have to be very careful around some of those doors because if you crash into the door while it's opening, you can get crush killed. I don't understand why. But, you know, I think for the fun of it, I'll take like 15 seconds or so time loss at the end of this stage to show off something really, really cool with the next one. A fancy little visual glitch called Lights Out Lava Reef, or at least that's what I call it. I don't actually know what the proper name of it is. But it just sort of enhances how cool Lava Reef is. Lava Reef is another one of my like favorite Sonic locations. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to hype it up. And that might involve shutting the lights off. We'll see how that goes. It is possible to mess up the glitch. Fortunately, unlike a certain other stage later in this run that I have been told has a lights out Act 2 glitch, this one's very forgiving on the timing. But we're finally coming up to the boss. This is one of the longer stages going. The boss is honestly very different in Mania as opposed to its Sonic 3 and Knuckles counterpart. A big drilling machine is going to come down and drill in the floor, and big jets of lava are going to pop up. We need 2 jets of lava to break its super armor because Eggman actually seems to take something into consideration for strategic purposes when it comes to Lava Reef, because in both Three and Knuckles and Mania, there are instances of a Lava Reef boss that cannot be damaged by even Super Amy or even Hyper Amy. This one, though, is still weak to lava, which I really don't get, but gonna go down this elevator, and at a specific point going down, I'm going to skip the cutscene then. And now the lights are off. And this lets the sort of crystals, and also the lava in instances when it does show up, really take center stage and really, no pun intended, but shine. Will I get hit by this jet of fire? Yes, I will. That is a very inconvenient location for a jet of fire. Amy actually worked with me, and I wasn't ready for it, and went back down that little hole. But I want this invincibility monitor because it just streamlines this section very nicely. So gotta be careful, or else I'll get crushed up against the wall, and that's no fun. So fun fact about that little staircase with the 3 fire jets next to it. Amy's hammer flip actually gives her a little bit of invincibility on the way up, so you can actually hammer flip partially through one of the fire jets if you are not in super state, which is pretty handy because usually, or in that case invincible, because the invincibility monitor usually wears off before I've had a chance to get all the way up that staircase. I dropped off the ceiling too early. I forgot exactly where I was. I almost got myself crushed because of hitting that switch. Very good cycle on those rocky dudes coming down those stairs, though. Now the lights are going to come on for... I can't say the most irritating of the hard-boiled heavy fights because Heavy Gunner does exist and is complete RNG. We've got Heavy Rider. She's really obnoxious. Because she'll just, like, jump and crash into you, and it's annoying, and also go up there and it be slow, and that was actually a really good set of movements that she decided to do. Usually she just rides off the screen a bunch and has to come back on the screen, and that's slow, and we only have 2 zones left. Taking one more trip back to Sonic CD with Metallic Madness. This stage, I might not activate Super State. I'll have to decide. The reason why I might not is because this stage is the one instance of a boss from Sonic 1 making an appearance in this game, even though this is a Sonic CD stage. The boss of Final Zone, so the final boss in Sonic 1, makes a little guest appearance here at the end of Metallic Madness with a bit of quality of life features. But that is the fight with those fancy little piston things that Eggman launches into the floor and ceiling, and you can get crushed, and there's not a whole lot of room in between each one. And Super Amy's really slidey. Okay, that pretty much means that I for sure won't be activating Super State because I don't think I'll have enough rings now anyway. We don't really see this stage's gimmick a whole lot because we only use it once right up here. But there are areas of the stage in the background, and you can launch yourself back there with those funny little catapults. There was one earlier that I landed on, but I got off it before getting flinged because it's really slow to go back there before that sort of last section. But now we're going to learn how to count to 4. because we've got to hit him 4 times, and then he'll go into a desperation phase, and then we really count to 4. I went the wrong way, but fortunately Eggman was feeling generous after that Puyo fight back in Chemical Plant. So one nice little change to this fight is there's a 5th piston, and on top of that, since there are now 5, I went the wrong way again, and Eggman was very kind. No 2 pistons that are directly next to each other can fire in the same batch, or in this phase, back to back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Need 4 hits, and every 4 piston fires on that second phase, Eggman will be in that piston, and I still had too much speed, even though I was trying to go slow. But we will actually be getting to listen to the super music for exactly 1 stage, and it's this stage right here, because the gimmick, one of the gimmicks of this stage, is you can crash into lasers that change the size of Amy. So we are going to be saying hello to Chibi Amy coming up very soon. But for some reason, when you're Chibi Amy and you activate Super State, the super music still keeps going, even if you have it set to disable. Which is a shame, because Eggman has a killer saxophone solo on this specific track of music, but we're not going to get to hear that at all, because now we're super Chibi Amy. But fun little fact about this boss coming up here, there is going to be another little callback to, in my opinion, an incredibly underused classic Sonic character. But only if you are playing as Amy. Because Eggman fights you with one of those little capsule machine things that usually you like put a quarter into and get a thing. Where are we going, Amy? I genuinely don't know where this is. Yeah, that's fine. We're near the end of the stage, so it doesn't really matter too much. I guess Amy wanted to go down. Now I know where we are. We're at the end of the stage. But one of the lucky prizes that we can get from this capsule machine is a little robo doll of, normally it would be Amy, but since we're playing as Amy, we can't have that, so they're little dolls of Honey the Cat. I really wish that they would do more with that character, because I think that her design is so incredibly cool. We also have callbacks to the boss of Marble Zone from Sonic 1 and Emerald Hill Zone from Sonic 2 in this fight as well.
Before this run ends, chat, quickly donate and tell me your favorite underutilized Sonic character, because we know there are a lot of them.
Yeah. Alright, we have one final zone left. The 4th and final of the new zones to Sonic Mania, and my favorite set of 2 stages in the entire game. Titanic Monarch. Also, Act 2 has, in my opinion, the best sort of area music in Sonic Mania. Also, the camera sometimes does that if you hammer flip on this stage. I don't know why. But Eggman is building one of his Death Egg robots, but this one is absolutely colossal in scale even compared to those. And that is the Titanic Monarch itself, and sort of this area around it that is building it or something like that. But we need to get up to the top. I don't actually know where the elevator after the boss of this stage takes you. I think it takes you inside the robot. Don't quote me on that, because I honestly don't know where the elevator goes. But we're going to an elevator. That's the important part. Also, I waited a little bit to activate Super State there, so that way I could have it just in case I started falling down that really tall, like, vertical hallway section. because activating Super State would have stopped my falling momentum long enough for me to sort of like get a grasp of what the situation was in the scenario that I did miss one of the bubbles and start falling. This act is significantly shorter than Act 2, as we are already almost to the end of the stage. Amy, that was an interesting choice to do out of the bubble. We've got one last climb over here, and then we are going to be to the boss of the elevator, which this one is guarded by Crimson Eye as opposed to Red Eye from Sonic 3 and Knuckles in the Death Egg. This fight is... I want to say it's significantly friendlier in a speedrun. It is a New Game Plus setting. I don't know about not New Game Plus because I don't run this game without my emeralds from the get-go. But we have one final stage left, split into sort of 5 sections. We've got the starting area, and then 4 sort of wings. We've got top left, bottom left, top right, bottom right. We're going to be taking the... hey, Spring, do you want to show up? Thank you. We're going to be taking the top left wing first, because each wing has a normal exit and a secret exit, and the secret exit of the bottom left wing has a lightning shield. We want the lightning shield for that ring magnet. Also, I just wanted that regular shield, so that way I could tank a hit if needed, and I wouldn't lose all of my rings. But since we are going to be coming up to the end of this run fairly soon, if there are any final messages before the run ends, now is the perfect time.
I just want to continue to encourage everybody to donate toward P-Fund Foundation, specifically their Transcend campaign. ! Donate in the chat. You can also, go to donate.mwsf.gg. If you are here on site, you can go snap the QR code that is on our door. And don't forget about our incentives. We have the incentive open to sing the DK rap, and we also have the golden banana color bid war for the Donkey Kong 64 randomizer, which light blue is winning with $24, but pink is a close second at $20.40. And I feel like, maybe we can get some donations toward pink in honor of Amy Rose. But there are other options as well.
Alright, I am not joking when I say scariest part of maybe the whole run right there is if you're too close to the center of those little like drums that move up and down, you'll just get crush killed, and it's really tragic. I had that happen in practice once, and I was very sad. It doesn't happen often, but it happens enough that it makes that section of the stage absolutely terrifying, because that's after the lightning shield. So you're already, like, a little over 25% of the way through the stage at that point. And you would literally need to just restart the stage from the beginning, so that way you have enough rings for Super State and also the ring magnet and all that good stuff. I'm going to just jump down here. This room is, or this wing is significantly shorter than the others. I don't really know why. Also, this stage's music is just so incredible in my opinion. And so is the final boss, which is coming up very, very soon.
The whole game has incredible music. Great game to have at VGMCon.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I would love to see what, just like so many of the zones that didn't come back in this game, I would love to see what kinds of like Act 2 remixes they would have ended up having if they had been in Mania, especially SnowballSMB, because I absolutely love that stage and that stage's music. But there are so many stages that I think musically would have been really, really cool. Come on, Amy. There we go. All right. we've got one last boss fight. 16 hits. Time is going to be on the 16th hit. We're also going to be saying hello again to Heavy Gunner because he's going to show up. There are sort of like rooms that each of the hard-boiled heavies have, but with Super State, the fight goes by so quickly that we only see Heavy Gunner. Which I am personally very happy about because Heavy Shinobi's room is brutal. The first time I played through this game, I was stuck on Heavy Shinobi's room of this fight for literally like half an hour. It was rough. So my revenge to him is he doesn't get to show up a second time in the speedrun. Should be at 10 hits on Eggman's thing, on his Pokeball with arms and legs. Alright, we need 2 more hits, and then that is going to be time. Time. Now everything's going to explode, so Sonic's gotta, you know, steal a car from one of the, like, crash test dummy robots. Also, sometimes after everything explodes, sometimes, like, the game locks up. Fortunately, it's not, because, fun fact, this mod also mods Amy into the cutscene at the end of the game, which is super, super cute. But as that's playing out, want to give just a few real quick shout-outs. Shout-outs to Midwest Speedfest for having me and letting me show off literally the game that got me into Sonic speedrunning. This was the first ever Sonic category that I learned to run, and I'm very, very happy that I was able to show it off. Shout-outs to Troop Sushi and Codename Gamma for creating this mod. Playing it, it's hard to believe that it wasn't just base game content. It's that good. Shoutouts to all of my Sonic friends, Callie MacN, Virtual Cat, Flame Dragon, Blitz Hedgie, and so many others who are just so nice and so supportive. Shoutouts to my friends at Fast Pace Events for being super, super cool people. Shoutouts to Amy Rose, because why not? Also, I guess kind of shoutouts to Dr. Eggman this one time for playing a mean game of Puyo Puyo. Shameless plug, you can find me on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Bluesky at SnowballSMB. I like to do lots of Sonic and Super Monkey Ball, and sometimes some Pokemon and indie game stuff.
Let's go, Monkey Ball.
Let's go, Monkey Ball. Shoutouts to the Monkey Ball speedrunning community. Lots of very cool folks there. But yeah, once again, shoutouts to Midwest Speedfest. Thank you so much for having me, and this was just so much fun.